Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I haven't used watercolor for a while now and I thought why not spend some time with my new Kissho gansai watercolor paints. This is my first set of gansai watercolor. I know that most gansai paints are quite large and these boxes are not very portable. I choose this brand because I know that they come in tubes too. If I have any new favorites, I can just squeeze them onto my travel palette. I'll show you that in a bit. So I bought this 35 colored set and I love their color choices, but I think it's a bit too many for now, so I'm just gonna choose 24 colors to start with. There are 3 metallic colors and a black. I don't think I'll be using these very often. I'm also gonna change the layout a little bit so it makes more sense to me. Because it's quite a lot of colors, it's a bit difficult for me to wrap my head around to know what to expect of them. Especially when they don't have the names that we already know, like burnt sienna or Naples yellow. So now I'm just gonna swatch the colors in a placement that roughly resembles the color wheel. You can tell that these colors are super vibrant and so easy to re-wet. There are some classic colors that look identical to ultramarine, phthalo blue, and quinacridone rose. But there are a few pastel colors as well. They're super unique and so pretty. I can't help but feeling there is some Studio Ghibli vibe in these colors. And I haven't sprayed these paints with water at all. I was afraid that the splatters might contaminate each other. But now I don't think they need any spraying before use. They're very easy to pick up, probably because the binder is quite different from Western watercolors. I couldn't find any information about the binder or pigments on the packaging, so I can't say for sure what's exactly in these paints. But I heard that gansai paints are usually made with animal glue or sugar syrup, beeswax as a binder. That's why they behave very differently. I noticed that they're more vibrant and they don't like to move around in the water very much, so I guess that they don't have much oxgall in it either. And this is how it looks like when it's been dried. I think these colors look adorable together, but it's also apparent that they are able to create some very moody and sophisticated color combinations. I especially like this pastel pink that reminds me of Wisteria from Daniel Smith. It's also very similar to one of my favorite oil pastel colors. It's this cobalt violet light hue. It's a very useful color. I really appreciate how versatile this brand is. Their paints come in very large and flat pans or tubes. I only bought a few of them to try out, but now I'm completely sold. The paint tubes are made of plastic and it's about 14-15 millimeters. The consistency of these paints are very creamy and liquidy, almost like some kind of body lotion or hand cream. I've never seen any paints like this before. They do dry completely and they do crack to a certain degree, but so far they haven't crumbled or fallen out of the pan. I do have a problem with their number system though, because for some reason they use different numbers for the pans and the tubes. For example, these supposed to be the exact same color, but for the pan it's number 21 and for the tube is 35. I really don't understand why they need to do that, it's just too confusing. But I'm very glad that they are very easy to re-wet after being left to dry for a few days, just as easy as the larger pans that came with the set. And after rearranging them, I'm ready to do some small landscape paintings just to get a feel of these paints. Right off the bat, I noticed that these paints are very easy to control. They don't run around on the paper and get all unpredictable. I would say that it's both a good and bad thing because you can't expect them to paint themselves like many Daniel Smith colors are known for. But it's actually quite fun to mix these paints on the paper when it's still wet. It doesn't mind to be pushed around a bit, even on hot press paper. It didn't look very overworked. And I absolutely love these green colors they included in the set. I think there are 2 or 3 versions of sap greens here, and they play very nicely with each other. It's very easy to mix and match them for different shades of green. I'm very impressed with that, and I think it's gonna make painting foliage a lot more fun. While I was waiting for the first layer to dry, I started a little house painting on the side. I tried to use the same colors on the palette so that they look like they belong in the same realm, so to speak. When I painted these clouds, I tried to make the consistency very watery just to see how they handle the glazing technique. Because I have heard that gansai paint sometimes are very difficult to layer. Like it might get muddy from picking up the pigment from the layer underneath. But I think in this case it was quite okay. I was also a bit surprised that the bright yellow color didn't turn green when I placed a blue color on top of it. I also noticed that after I pick up some paints from the pans, the brush left some moisture on the surface, and it makes it very easy to pick up a very creamy consistency of paint the next time I dip my brush in there. And I was a bit taken by surprise and needed to wipe off some excess paint on my brush. So I had to keep in mind to be gentle with it. I think my only problem so far is that the box takes quite a lot of space on my desk, and I need to put another mixing palette next to the box as well. So I do feel like this setup is a bit clumsy, but I'm sure I'll get used to that once I know the placement of the colors a bit better. Now I'm done with this little speed paint. I feel like I'm starting to understand these gansai paints, and they look quite cute in my opinion. The next day I decided to paint this urban scene. This was on my way to school from my grandma's place. I took a picture of it when I was visiting my home last month. I had a lot of memories of this place and it means a lot to me, so it was really fun to paint it. This time I used Arches cold press paper, and the paints just glide so well on this paper, but because this paper is very thirsty and need a lot of water, there was some dry brush effect happening when I didn't want it to be, but that's just me forgetting how this paper works. I've been using this paper outside quite a lot lately. It stays wet really well under the sunshine and wind and makes the plein air experience very pleasant. But I just totally forgot how they are like indoors. Oh, and by the way, I did a light fastness test of these paints together with some other Japanese watercolors I bought on my trip. I'm going to let them be on my window facing the sun for a few months before I check up on them. I didn't find any light fastness information about them, and to be honest, I'm not sure if they're student grade or artist grade paints. Maybe gansai paints have its own kind of rating system, so I can't say for sure. I know that a lot of you have tried the Kurataki's Gansai Tambi, and I checked that on the website Best from Japan. The paints from Kissho are more expensive. Like this 35 colored set costs about 5,000 yen, which is like $32, when Kurataki's 36 color set is $23. So there is a price difference, but since I never use Kuretake, I can't compare them. But I would really like to know if you have tried gansai paints before and if you notice any quality differences. I was also very happy to discover that even though some of these paints are more opaque than others, it didn't cover up any of my ink sketches underneath, because line and wash is probably my favorite way to paint urban sketching scenes like this one. Now I'm adding the last few details. I didn't want to write the actual words that was on the sign because I wanted to be like my memory as a child before I learned how to read. And I think there is a special charm in that, like when you are traveling to another country and can't read the signs everywhere. There's something just so exciting about that. Okay, so this lid painting is done. I'm quite happy with it. I think it does capture how I remembered this place. I hope you enjoyed watching me testing out these new paints. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next week. Goodbye.